welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be looking at some rods for a B16, or I think maybe an LS. But just going to show some differences in the brands. You know, you might pay $350 for one brand, you might pay $500 from another brand, but we're going to look at some similarities in a couple different brands here. I've got one rod from one company and the rest that I have are from a different manufacturer. Just to kind of show you, I think one's rated at like 900 horsepower and the other one's like, I'm thinking 6 is what the number is. Let me see what we got here. Yeah, one is 600 horse and the other one is 900 horse. I've done some reviews, done some reads on some of this stuff. They're both consistently priced around 350 bucks new. I probably maybe have $100 a piece in the sets. I've only got one of them. The other ones are still in the motor. But I want to show you and let you look and let you kind of decide yourself, you know, is it worth, you know, the different money. These are priced considerably close, but for one to say 900 horse and the other one to say 600 horse, and they have the exact same ARP 2000 rod bolts in them. They have the same rod bolts. And I was going to show some similarities. They're both forged steel rods, and so let's look at them. Let's see, you know, if you can decide if one is better than the other, just visually. You know, if they're made out of the same metal and they have the same rod bolts, why wouldn't they be the same horsepower? I've done some reads. A lot of people claim that they are one's just as good as the other. I do think I agree with that, unless there's maybe some manufacturing flaws that they're not confident in their part, or they're just lowballing to make sure that, you know, they don't have any failure if you're planning on going to 900. Obviously one company thinks theirs will be just fine. But let's look at them, let's see what you think, and we'll go from there. Let's get this jewel up here. All right, so just right out the gate here, I'll give you just a little bit of time here to kind of make up your own mind, besides the obvious, if you can see some coloration difference. Why is one different than the other? I'll give you just a second to look. You think you got it? All right. We'll do away with that one, and we'll do away with those two. There's your two different rods. Okay. Now, coloration is probably the only thing, if you decided one is different than the other. All right, let's turn them the same way. I think one might be a little longer because it's out of a different engine, different size 1.8, and I think maybe one's a 1.6. So one's a LS, I think, Integra, and the other one is a B16, I think. I'm pretty sure. All right, so now the differences in these, there has to be some differences. I think patent laws, I think it's like 10%, 15%. My brother's a machinist, and I can ask him if anybody wants to know 100% sure. But I think it's like either 10%, I'm pretty sure it's 10%, but that or 15% differences, because let's say there's 100 rod companies that manufacture rods for engines, aftermarket. Okay, you know, obviously they're going to be drawn to one particular type of metal that works. You know, that's your forged steel that a lot of your performance rods are made out of. You have aluminum rods, and then you have some of the cast rods from factory engines. But you can see here, just right off the bat, you can see that, I may be able to focus a little more. All right, so we'll do that, maybe a little more so. That's all we got. All right, so I don't know if you can see. All right, so we'll pull it up here. That rod has that little notch. That's one noticeable thing. It took me a while to actually find this brand, and this brand is SCAT. So this part number, let me get it turned around, right? This part number, if you can see it, that's the part number, 8401S. Couldn't find it anywhere. So what I did actually find is the SCAT has I don't know if I'll ever get that to focus, but Scat, they did put their name on that rod bolt. So I finally tracked it down, and I did find that Scat does have that notch in their rod. So I'm pretty certain that's what that is, because this was a used rod out of an engine that I bought that needed a piston. Okay. Now this rod is going to be, if you can see, well, I get one that you can read the number on. Right here, this is an Eagle rod. I looked that part number up. That's an older part number. I'm not 100% sure you could even get that part number. There's a newer version, I think it's a little more modernized, maybe a little more R&D. But it also has its own, there we go. So it will have, Eagle will have their own ARP 2000s with their own little name on it there. And these are both 3/8 bolts. The bolts themselves are exactly the same. So it's both a 3/8 ARP bolt. Now you can, the way they're describing it now is you can buy the 625 plus, and what that is an aged bolt that is supposed to be a lot more durable than your ARP 2000s. ARP still has those, you can get them from them, but they're pretty expensive. So let's say this is a 900 horse rod, and with the ARP 2000s. Now if you replace those with the 625 plus, they're saying now this rod can, go in the 1,000 plus range by just replacing the rod bolt. And you'll have to check your own application to see what the claims are with that, upgrading that bolt. But if you're building a 900 horse motor, you're gonna know really where you're going with it. So they do have the exact same rod bolt. Now you can see, let's see here. There you go. You can see some differences here structurally, just a little bit. This one's just not pulled together. It's this has a line in it here. This one's just not pulled down. So structurally, the sides are pretty similar. Side by side comparison, pretty close. It appears that the Eagle has a little wider neck on it here. I mean, realistically, that appears to be, extremely similar. So, in my opinion, this one's 900, and it's made out of forged steel. Why isn't this one 900? So ultimately, in my opinion, again, everything I shoot about parts and items, everything I shoot about parts and different items that, just in my opinion, if you had bought a used engine and it had a set of Scat rods in it, and you want to build a motor and you want to, to really put the power down, I don't think you should worry that it's not enough rod to be in comparison with the Eagle rods. I think visually, unless maybe there's some R&D that they haven't done, but I doubt that, because Scat is actually a reputable brand. They're just more geared towards your muscle car stuff. That's where their bread and butter lies, with the muscle car stuff. So would I be comfortable making the same power out of either one of these rods? If I was building any engines, would I prefer one over the other? Honestly, I can't visually see the difference. That, and again, I use this term, I don't know if it's the correct word, but metallurgically speaking, I think that's how you say it. If they're both out of the same material, why would one not be as good as the other, unless exactly that, the R&D is not done, or there's a flaw in that particular rod. I don't think there is, because, again, they're both 3/8 bolts. There you can see they're both the same size bolt hole. So I can swap these bolts out from one piston or rod over. I can take this one out and take it out of this and put it over there, and it's still going to fit. They will fit. I can buy 625 plus for either one. They're exact same size. Why the oilers? This is where your holes are for oiling your bearings for your wrist pin. It actually goes up. But these oil your wrist pin, and the wrist pin is the steel bar that goes through your piston. So that, like your factory rods, they get hot. They tend to burn up on the ends and stretch or break or something on the ends. Well, all your aftermarket brands do actually drill a hole and allow them to oil. They both look, maybe one's farther to one side, maybe. Honestly, the Scat feels, like you're looking at, if you look at your beams here, the sides actually look thicker on the Scat rod than the Eagle rods. The hole is placed a little to the left, versus, that one's in the center. But it's just a steel bar. It goes through the middle of it that locks it to the piston itself. I just don't think that would matter. Inside, they both look consistent. Now this one's a little more worn. I think somebody may have spun a bearing, or it's just been where it's been in storage possibly. But the bearing's not even relevant. As long as your bearing sits in there, your bearing rides inside the top and bottom on your crank. I just, honestly, I would call them the same. Metallurgically speaking, again, there's that word. You'll hear me say that word because that's how I know that word, is to say metallurgically. But anyway, would I run those and think that I could make the same horsepower out of two engines? Absolutely. Again, I don't see why one should be so much more better than the other. Now, obviously, if you were buying a brand that no one had ever heard of, maybe you could possibly get, questionable. And that's just going to be on your R&D, your research that the company's done to test their products. And even though, there may be some kind of balancing issue that they didn't balance them correctly, or where your actual rod bolt goes in here, there may be an issue where when it tightens down, it may strip out and pull out at some point under, a lot of stress. But I can't see that they're not going to be. These are two companies that are well known across the racing scene, and well known across, the markets of, pistons, rods, and that type of stuff, building engines. I just think, honestly, I feel confident in both of those rods. I myself would buy either one of those rods, and I wouldn't hesitate to, run, if one's claiming 9 and you would run one confidently at 900 horse, I wouldn't see why the other one wouldn't make 900 horse. So in my opinion, and again, that's the word metallurgically speaking, I feel confident that Scat and Eagle rods that are equivalent price and equivalent material, I think if one says 900, the other one says 6, I think, I couldn't imagine Eagle saying it's 900 horse rod without something to back that up. Maybe Scat is lowballing because they don't want to have failure and they don't want a bad reputation. But Eagle are, they're both reputable companies. So I just say, I feel confident that the Scat would do that as well, because Scat is a reputable company and they have R&D'd these products. These two companies are two of the top companies in the business. You're going to have all your other brands. There's some higher end brands as well, but these guys are up there. These guys sell quality products on a daily basis, and they sell stuff that's going to work. They just are. So if one claims 900, I'm confident that the other one would be 900 too. So if you bought a used motor and it had either one of the rods in it, you could go 900 horse. I just think they're equivalent as far as what they are and what they can do. in my opinion. And so, would I feel confident with either one of these rods at 900? Absolutely, absolutely. I don't think one's going to be better than the other, but I think both are of good quality. So I would buy either one of these rods, and I'm confident in either one of these rods, and I'm actually going to put some motors together with these rods, and as well as some pistons that I've got too, but you've already seen those. But we're gonna take a set of the rods to the machine shop, have them balanced, have the pistons cleaned up and balanced, and that's down the road. We'll make a video of that once we get everything together and get it here and get it balanced and ready to go in an engine. You'll be able to see the repairs they did on those pistons that I've done the video on, and then you can see the build. So, and these, again, they're just my opinion. All right, thanks guys. Thanks for watching the video. Like, subscribe, follow us on Instagram. We're on Facebook. And if you haven't subscribed to YouTube, get on there, subscribe, or get on there and set up an account. And if you're trying to help us out, you're trying to follow us, and you're trying to stay with us, there's a little bell on your, where you subscribe and all that. Hit the little bell, you'll get the notification so you can watch our videos as we post them, because we have more coming. But definitely set up you an account on YouTube, and that way you can keep up with us, you can subscribe, help us out, because we've got some stuff we're trying to keep going forward here. And we may do some merch, hats, shirts, you know, that caliber stuff. We may do some of that. So keep that in mind. We may be selling some items. We may do a giveaway. We may do some stuff like that. Once we get enough people involved and to make it fair, where we're not got just a few people and we're trying to raffle off something, you know. So we'll do a giveaway. We'll do stuff like that. But just stay with us. We're growing as we speak. I hope the new camera, I hope you can tell, you know, what's going on a little better. And we'll see you guys down the road. Thank you. All right.